Hello guys, Mr. Fluffy Pants here, and today guys, another video. And today guys, we're reviewing the Fear Street Trilogy, which was released over Netflix over the past 3 weeks. They released a new movie every Friday, and there's 3 of them, which it was based off the Fear Street novels by R.L. Stein, or the author of the Goosebumps books, which I enjoyed the Goosebumps movies, and I used to read the books, and I used to read a little bit of the Fear Street books, but not as much as Goosebumps. But and they kind of like adapted I don't want to say like they adapted like a particular book, but they just kind of like took the Fear Street thing and like made like a nice story with it, which is a trilogy, which all these parts fit together so well. So I decided review them all together instead of separately. Especially after I saw the first one, I was like, I'm just gonna wait for all 3 of them to come out to do a review on them, and I'm kind of glad I did now, because I feel like these movies are a lot stronger all together, as like if you look at them together than separate. But that's just me personally. But so first of all, you got part 1, which is called 1994, part 2 is 1978, and then part 3 is 1666, which basically there's like this overarching story, and then like part 2 and part 3 have like a flashback, like extended flashback sequences, which take up like 2/3 to like halfway, or about half or 2/3 of the movies, or of the movie, which I think works for it, honestly, because, we do get this extended story, and then part 3, that we actually get a tag art says, Fear Street 1994 part 2, which is kind of interesting. So first of all, the first one, pretty much you got, there's like, I love the kind of a setup they have, where there's like these 2 towns, Sunnyvale and Shadyside, which Shadyside is kind of like, the rundown shitty, neighborhood or city or whatnot, while Sunnyvale's like, the perfect rich person kind of thing. And there's like this, classic feud that's, going on between them, and how, every few years or so, there's like a serial killer or it just seems like someone just snaps and just starts going on a killing spree. And, we learn later this has been happening since 1666, and everybody believes like the witch the town hanged in 1666 is, is the one that's possessing all these people, get her revenge or whatnot, because, they have like this creepy nursery rhyme about how she cut off her hand and she has a grip upon the land or whatnot. But it also is interesting to me how this whole love plot is kind of the driving force for the majority of the story between Dina, the main character, and Sam, which in the 1994 it's just kind of like a a plot device, and or not really as much as it's really more of a plot device in 1994, I feel like, than in 1666, which is kind of like the whole driving force behind the start of the story to get it rolling, which in 1666, the characters from, the 1994 part of Fear Street, play, like, I guess, distant relatives of themselves, which, it's kind of cliche at this point, but, it's whatever. But pretty much, in the first part, they crashed because of part of some feud that, they were doing with the bus after a football game or whatnot, after the really good opening scene of 1994, with the skull mask killer, which that picture of the skull mask killer is just already iconic in slashers now. Like, and, that movie's been out for, 2-3 weeks now, and I see that's so iconic. Like, I know Fear Street right there, because it's just really cool mask or whatnot. But, in the first one, pretty much they crash, and one of the main girl, Sam, she gets her blood on the bones of Sarah Fear, which, like I said, is the witch that they supposedly think, is haunting Shadyside or whatnot, which, the town hanged back in 1666. And then pretty much all the past killers come back and try to hunt her down, because, she got, Sarah Fear got a taste of the blood, or, or so they think or whatnot. But the whole first movie is about them trying to, kill all the killers and trying to break the curse or whatnot, which, I have to say, I really like Kate, but, she's only in the first one, and then, she plays, like, I guess, a relative of herself in 1666, but her death is very gory, where she gets her head through a cake slicer or meat slicer or whatnot. Very gory. And let me just say, the gore in these movies are absolutely superb. But, I also love how Josh, he's also probably my favorite character, how, he, like, goes through and shows all these killers, and in the first episode, or 1994, they show the reverend or whatnot, or the pastor or whatnot, how he cut out kids' eyes, and that kind of made me think that was gonna be like the main bad guy or whatnot. But then in 1666, it's just kind of like it happened, and it's kind of anticlimactic, honestly, considering how they built it up in the 1994 chapter or whatnot. But after they the events in 1994, Sam kind of gets possessed or whatnot, which, also my problem, 1994 is probably my least favorite, honestly, of the three. It feels like it just goes on a little too long, personally, even though it's, like, the shortest one, like, it's kind of weird, but, then they go, meet the one survivor of the, Camp Nightwing incident, which is the one Shady Sider that actually, survived, and they learned it's because she died, and she got brought back to life, which, they do with Sam. They, like, drown her in a fish tank, or, I'm sorry, a lobster tank or whatnot, but, then they bring her back to life, resuscitate her or whatnot, but... And then part two is probably my favorite of the three, honestly, but I don't know, the third one's pretty close to it, but the third one, we get this flashback to 1978, the Camp Nightwing incident, which just gives me Friday the 13th vibes, like, those first two or three movies, which, is my favorite, era of Friday the 13th, and, also, all the movies got a kick-ass soundtrack, especially the first two. The third one not as much, because most of it takes place in 1666, so not much of a, soundtrack for that or whatnot, but, these three movies just got superb soundtrack or whatnot, which mostly plays in nostalgia, sure, but, I love the main characters, Ziggy or whatnot, which we learn later is, the girl that the kids are talking to in 1994, which the whole time we're made to believe it's the Sydney girl, but because they keep calling her C. Berman, and then I think Ziggy's real name's like Charlotte or something like that. But long story short, axe murderer goes on a killing rampage. Literally, we see on screen him bashing in like campers' heads and stuff with an axe, which, like, holy crap. But we start getting some of this backstory about this whole they go into like the crypt of where the rituals take place or whatnot, which we learn it's still like a curse ongoing. You see all the names inscribed on the wall. It's pretty cool and all, but there's like this pulsating lump of I guess Satan or whatnot underneath the camp or whatnot, which is kind of I found it a little convenient that where the Camp Nightwing is also where the original town of Union, which was Sunnyvale and Shadyside started. Did find that a little, too convenient for plot convenience or whatnot, but, it is whatever, and, long story short, they find the hand of Seraphir, and then they're like, okay, we gotta reunite it with the body, and then all this will be over, so they go to the tree where she was hanged, and, then, Ziggy and, Sydney are murdered brutally at that, but, there's also this whole love story with the current sheriff in 1994. Him and Ziggy went to camp together or whatnot, and they kind of have this whole love thing, but, he's from Sunnyvale or whatnot, and she's from Shadyside, and he brings her back to life, and, and then, we get some more follow-up story in the 1994 timeline or whatnot, but 1666 is where it gets really interesting. The characters, it's pretty much like an extended, like, vision, I guess, per se, because, in 1994, they got Dina and Josh go back to the grave of Seraphir, which they found after the crash or whatnot, and she's reunites the hand with with Seraphir, and she gets like this whole vision, and that's pretty much what half of 1666 is about. Takes place in 1666, so we get to see that Seraphir is actually innocent, and it's kind of like this whole peruse thing, because her and the pastor's daughter or whatnot have their little love affair, which, back then that was, like, very sinful, and, they think you're witches for that, which, like I said, that's, the whole thing that gets this plot rolling or whatnot, because there's, like, these two, people that are outside of the town or whatnot. I guess they're, like, kicked out or exiled or whatnot, but there's, like, this one, girl or whatnot, and then this guy named Solomon, which... I realized about halfway through this, the 1666 flashback, I was like, it's probably him, man, especially after, Dina found the one girl out, that was also living out of town dead. I was like, yeah, it's definitely Solomon, right? And it was definitely Solomon. We see, like, the whole underground cave ritual thing that we saw in, part 2 or whatnot, and, we see that, I was like, yeah, he's definitely the bad guy now, ain't he? And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes it, his name's, like, Solomon Good, which, at the time I did not realize is also the sheriff, in the 1994 Caroline, he's Sheriff Good. I didn't realize that, even though, they said his name multiple times. That registered to me until, like, we go back to 1994 and, like, Dina's like, get away from him, Josh, and she's like, it's Sheriff Good, and then we learned that, it ain't Seraphir this entire time. Seraphir was kind of set up, because they, and then, they hanged her, and then she pretty much confessed to keep, her lover or whatnot, safe, but, yeah, I did find it a little weird that, Solomon kept, like, standing up for Dina or whatnot, and the girls, because... which I think was part of his whole peruse, is to, like, make them trust him, and then he's like, yeah, it was definitely them for sure, but like I said, the whole pastor thing about cutting out kids' eyes and all that, don't get me wrong, was really creepy when it, especially whenever the Solomon guy walked in. The pastor's like tapping the hook, which, yeah, very scary. But then he just gets stabbed by some rinky-dink pitchfork that looks like it's made out of straw, which I was like, okay, that was really anticlimactic considering how they, kind of set it up in 1994, but, whatever. But then we get the whole a whole climactic mall scene where even they bring back the janitor from the first episode from the first movie, which is kind of a running joke how he kept getting arrested or whatnot. They go booby trap the mall with blood or whatnot. They capture all the killers, which also Ruby Lane's one of the recurring killers too. When she starts singing, it's so creepy and it's so good. But and the Camp Nightwing guy with his axe, how he just runs, that's just really good too. But then it's also kind of, I don't know why the mall, whenever they built the mall, which is apparently right above the, I guess where Camp Nightwing used to be, and the whole ritual caves underneath is underneath the mall now. But like when they built the mall, they didn't see, there's easy access to it. Yeah, that's a little, sus or whatnot. But long story short, Sarah kills Sheriff Good, which, releases the curse because, they passed it down from generation to generation to get what they want. Like, Sheriff Good's brother was the mayor of Sunnyvale, and he was the sheriff, and they got, like, wealth or whatnot, and then they go, like, into, from the caves or whatnot, they get transferred into, like, his house, and it's very creepy. There's, like, ghosts on the wall and whatnot, but, and then we see that, Sunnyvale is starting to get bad luck now, where there's, like, car crashes or whatnot, and then on the news, they're like, yeah, it turns out, Sheriff Good was the serial killer, and shady side, and his family denied not knowing anything about her, and blah blah blah, and we get kind of a whole happily ever after kind of thing, which I think honestly, here's my opinion. 1994 is definitely the weakest, but it's still got some iconic things in it. Like, I love Nurse Betty. That's just kind of funny to me. And how they're, like, selling drugs or whatnot. But, like I said, the Skull Mask Killer is iconic now. And 1994 definitely set up something great. But I'm probably going to give 1994, like, an 8.3 out of 10. Just not my favorite. I would not really rewatch it. But 1978, on the other hand, is my favorite of the three, which I would probably give 1978, like, a 9.1 out of 10, just because I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I might just watch that by itself, honestly, because it's just such a good, like, classic throwback slasher. And then 1666, I think, wraps up the story very well, and I would even say, like, it leaves it open for more, because, at the end, they still have, like, the book or whatnot in there, which, calls the whole thing or whatnot, but probably give 1666 like an 8.8 out of 10. That's probably how I rank them. Part 2, Part 3, and then Part 1. I don't know. Part 1 just, I rewatched it like again because some friends wanted to watch it, and I was just not into it. But I would definitely watch the other 2 parts again if you catch my drift. But anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think about the Fear Street Trilogy down below, and how would you rank them. But check out my Twitter or the Discord link in the description. Like and subscribe for more. Check out some other videos, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.